Hi there and welcome to the Gear4music studio. My name is Rick and today we are checking out the Warm Audio RingerBringer. Now this is a ring modulation pedal, and ring modulation is something that's really normally seen in synthesizers, but this is bringing a classic recreation of a pedal version of that into the modern world. The ring modulator is very crazy and wacky sounds, but you can also get maybe your lower end kind of vibrato and tremolo kind of effects in there as well, or you can go really crazy and get you kind of wacky and wild sounds. Now these sounds and these pedals may be known in, say for instance, something like David Bowie or something like Pink Floyd, where you really are getting into your experimental kind of sounds. Now the pedal itself, I'm going through a guitar. You can use it for a synth, you can use it for whatever you want as well. Today we're just checking out how it sounds with a guitar. Now today we're going through my quad cortex as well, which is just on a Marshall setting. It's going through the effects loop, so that just makes it a bit easier for me to switch it on and off as well. So let's go through all the settings on the RingerBringer first, and we'll just check out what we've got to work with. So on the right hand side here, we've got the modulator section. Your mix there will have your wet and dry. So obviously to the far left, it is just your dry signal. All the way to the far right, you've got just your wet signal. Then underneath that, you've got your frequency. Now your frequency is what's actually being affected. So in your low setting, it's going to be affecting your low frequency. So it's going to give you more like a vibrato or that tremolo sound. And then when you flick that over into high, then it's going to affect your high end sounds. And that's going to be like a pitch shift warble. That's where your kind of wacky and wild sounds are going to be living. In the middle, we have got your drive knob. Now, something to note about this pedal in particular is the drive is always on. So if you are running it in front of an amplifier, you are always going to have that drive. Now, you can find a sweet spot on the knob itself, so it will kind of be in unison. Just like this, I'll show you. This is my clean tone. And then this is with the pedal engaged. So it's very similar. However, if you do crank up that gain or that drive, you will obviously hear it. And that's something to really take into consideration if you are going to be using this pedal at the front of a chain or anywhere where you can't have an external on-off switch like I have here with my effects loop. Okay, so let's just bring that back down to unison. And now on the left-hand side here, we've got your LFO as well. Now the LFO there, you've got the amount of what that is going to be doing. You've also got the wave itself. So you've got a square wave or you've got a sine wave. And then you've got the rate at which that is going to be moving, which again will give you kind of subtle tones to your really crazy, wacky sounds as well. So let's start with the basic vibrato or tremolo setting, and we'll see how that sounds. Now, to get that tremolo or vibrato-ish type of sound, again, we need to make sure that the frequency switch is flipped over to low. And then we just have to blend in the mix knob as well. So you can go from really subtle vibrato and you can get that really choppy kind of sound as well. So if we start around here. Okay, we'll crank it up a little bit more than that as well. You'll get to hear a bit more of a choppy sound. Cool, so now what we'll do is we'll use the same settings, but we'll flick over to the high frequency and you'll hear how we can get some of those really wacky and wild sounds. So as you can hear, the pitch is quite weird and it's kind of warbling. And then when you grab the frequency and bring that up, you will hear the pitch will actually rise as well. So let's give that a shot. So you can hear that they've brought in a bit more harmonic content. It's kind of starting to get kind of quirky, a little bit strange in your sound. Let's bring up the mix a little bit more and the frequency a little bit more and see how that sounds. Cool. So we're kind of steering away from the actual sound of a guitar, and we're kind of going more into kind of your bit crusher kind of territory. Not quite there yet, but yeah, it's kind of a little bit quirky and different. So now that we've had a listen to the modulation section, let's move over and boost up some of the LFO as well, so we can hear how we can manipulate the sounds that we've already got. So if we flick up this onto the sine wave and then we pull up the amount, we'll see how that sounds. So as you can hear, it's starting to really get wacky and wonderful, and you can hear the warble of the pitch in the background. It's kind of turning the guitar more into a synthesizer kind of sound. Let's go completely the opposite direction. We're going to crank up the amount. We're going to crank up the rate. We'll see how that sounds. So as you can hear, we've ramped up the rate there, so it's starting to really warble. It's kind of getting into kind of your really like UFO-y kind of sounds, and you can really hear how something like David Bowie or Pink Floyd could really use this in their kind of psychedelic-ish sounds. Let's kind of go a little bit more crazy, maybe a little bit more in your cinematic kind of thing. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to turn this over onto high, and we're going to go back in and bring the LFO back, but we're going to go on a square wave this time, and we're also going to bring up the rate. I'm then going to bring up the mix as well, and we're going to bring up the LFO. I'm also going to boost up the frequency, so it's going to be selecting those higher frequencies, and I'm going to add a bit of reverb and delay to just give it that little bit more of a different sound. So there you have it. There was our quick look at the Warm Audio RingerBringer. Now, as you heard in the examples, this pedal has got such an array of sounds, and it can go from really nice and warm to really wacky and radical. And I think that that's going to be perfect for people that are doing kind of soundtracks, or if you just want to push the boundaries of your guitar playing, or even if you just want to maybe make your guitar sound something like a synthesizer. It's really great for those type of areas. And this might not be for everybody, but if you really hone in on the pedal itself, give it some time, you can really find some unique sounds just for yourself. If you want to find out more information about this pedal, head over to the Gear4music website. If you've liked this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. My name is Rick. I'll see you next time.